right. Hey, everybody. So today I have Rainee Perdue with me. I'm so excited to have her on. And
Hi.
yeah, just such an amazing thing. I love a Rainee. And yeah, Rainee, why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Oh boy. Well, I am a happily married lover of Jesus, musician, songwriter, jack of all trades, master of none. I don't know. um just I love people. I love making people happy. I love creating. I love anything that keeps me creating. And I flippin' love his presence. I don't know. I what else? I really like what I'm not used to introducing myself that much. I mean,
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so I know I've seen you've become kind of popular in your area, especially you were in the news. Can you share a little
I
bit?
was?
Yeah, you were in the news.
When?
I I know you were on the news. I saw your I saw a thing on the YouTube with you on the news.
When?
Oh man.
Unless you're talking about a few years ago,
Yeah, yeah. It was a few
like when
years
I was
ago, I
playing for the
guess.
seniors.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Like what? So yeah, I play for the seniors. I play and sing. I love to just gather songs that they'll remember, songs that make them tap their feet or remember something good that happened in their life, or and I don't just stick to the real familiar ones. I try to find some not extremely obscure ones, but not the ones that everybody chooses always either. And try to choose a variety of different flavors, and because I really, and of course, if it were up to me, I'd be doing tons of the old jazz standards. But now it's getting to the point where a lot of them, a lot of the people are getting. It's weird to think that my mom's age is considered senior. Like what? What? And so, I'm having to really broaden my flavor and realize that a lot of the songs I grew up with are the songs that you're hearing in those places now. And so, yeah, it's quite an interesting. But I just love to go and bless them, and I bless. I love to go and sing for the Life Day Academy. They're um, adults who are in need of just some place to go during the day. They can't really hold a job because of different disabilities. And so that's where they go. And so at least once or twice a month, I usually get to sing for them. And so that's part of what I do.
That's awesome.
So that's probably what I was in the news for.
Yeah, I just every time I hear you sing, it's such an amazing thing. It's like you really do have this voice that just radiates the love of God. And I've just always appreciated hearing you sing, and I can't wait until you start to release like albums and stuff, because I that's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I've recorded before, but um it's weird how much I even changed in just not that long after I put out my last
Oh,
CD. That was back in the day when CDs were the thing.
yeah.
And my I started remembering or um what's the word I'm looking for? Just deciding, you know what, these are parts of my voice and parts of my style that I've always loved. And for whatever reason, I put it aside, I put it behind me. And so, no, I'm going back to this flavor. I'm going back to more soulful, not so extremely acousticy, folky kind of thing that I used to do. And so that was kind of my voice starting to open up, my style starting to open up. I'm, rediscovering I was anyway, rediscovering my soprano range and realizing that I love using that range. So that started opening up. And then all of a sudden 2011 hits and things in my spirit start opening up. Like all of a sudden I'm realizing how finished it really is when Jesus said it is finished. Um, and all of a sudden so many things inside are opening up. And so, I let's see, that was 2005 I put out my last thing. And that all that opening up and changing and rearranging, it feels like those albums are almost a bait and switch. So I'm ready for something new.
Nice. That's awesome. So what's your story? I mean, where'd you come from?
Oh, well, I come from this little town out in the middle of ever loving nowhere called Lakeview, Oregon. And population of about 2,800. I was the only blind, yes, I said the word blind. I was the only blind person in my school at the time. So, in that sense, I was kind of a pioneer. And I was mainstreamed. My mom, the principal back when I was in kindergarten, tried to tell mom, hey, um, we can't really have her in public school. She doesn't have the right. She needs more services than we can give her. And that's understandable. I mean, tiny town.
Yeah.
They weren't ready for me in more ways than one. Um, they weren't ready for somebody who had needs that went beyond the normal, ordinary, everyday student. So mom was like, nope, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I don't want to have to be apart from my child that long. Number one. Number two, I can't really afford it. We got to do something here or bust. And so that's what they did. They made a way, they made it happen. I went to public school all through high school and then spent a lot of my young adult life in Portland. I did go to college some, but I decided I really wanted to focus on music and volunteered in various places when I was in Portland. Was a part of the downtown House of Prayer back in the day, back around 2000 and pretty much until I left Portland in 2005. And so that was a big part of my life. I volunteered with different animal shelters and even they actually asked me to sing for the cats. I thought I thought that was the strangest thing. But I did it and still do it sometimes. So yeah. Um, but went from there, met my husband in 2001 and we got married in 2002. Then we went to North Carolina and Then came here, fell in love with the community here in Fort Wack, aka Fort Wayne, Indiana, and just really fell in love with those people. So we ended up moving here in 2014. And pretty much all this time for the last, you know, 20, 30, however many years, just all my life, really, all my life, I've sung anywhere and everywhere I can possibly go.
That's amazing. I love it. So how did you come to actually like really uh enjoy the love of God and like really like come to a place of intimacy with him?
Mm.
I've just noticed in every time that I've talked with you that you really have this special intimacy with him that just like radiates from you, and it's just so amazing. And like I just love for you to be able to share with people like what's your secret?
Don't know that I have one.
How did you fall in love with him?
Oh my
What's your love
gosh.
story with him?
Well, that's the funny thing is like this is gonna go all over the place. So I hope I don't ramble like
Well,
crazy.
it's all
Um,
good.
you know, I remember, and this used to freak my mom out a little bit. I I remember being a tiny, tiny, tiny girl sitting on the back porch of my grandma's house. She kind of had this porch area that was kind of like a it wasn't an it was almost like it wasn't quite a porch, but it was like it was definitely separate from the rest of the house. It was more like a workshopy kind of thing. And it had obviously it had other things. It had the laundry and stuff, but they had animals come in. They had dogs have puppies in that area. I was often back there. And on Sundays, grandma, who wasn't really my family back in that day, just didn't really, God came up, but most of the time it was more like God Almighty, you know. um,
Absolutely.
it was more of a cuss word almost. But they didn't talk much about their beliefs in God. But on Sunday mornings, they would often have preachers on, Sunday preachers. And a lot of that was because obviously being in a little tiny town like Lakeview, you only got one or two channels, unless you got satellite, which some of them did back in the day. But I just remember for whatever reason, I can't tell you a single thing that they talked about. I just know that I there was something in me that God was familiar. And I didn't understand it for years and years and years. Like why even then when I couldn't tell you one thing about God, I couldn't even tell you John 3:16. There was something in me that just knew his presence. Something in me was drawn to him. And now I know what it was. Now I know, he chose us from before the foundations of the earth.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
good.
didn't understand that then, and for
Yeah.
years, I mean, it took me years to understand that. But I don't know. As the years grew, things kind of go back on the back burner. You don't hear about God much. There for a while, my stepbrother would witness to me, and I kind of get on the get on the bandwagon. But then it went on the back burner. And then I would meet teachers at daycare that would talk about God, and I was drawn like a magnet. I'm like, oh, Jesus, I'm just something about this And I don't know whether it's just the mystical aspect of things or what I was drawn to, but I was drawn and got to the point where I would even try to preach to people and even being a little kid. Um, and it freaked mom out a little bit, like what's going on with my daughter? I don't want people are already going to look at her weird because she's blind. I don't want people to look at her weird because of this. But anyhow, things kind of come and go, and you again, things kind of get shoved back in the back of your mind. But I always had this love, this affinity for love songs. My mom would always be like, why do you just sing songs about love? It's like that's what we all want. That's what we all need, right?
Yeah.
I just had an affinity for that. Now I understand. Is I was made to worship. I was made to love on Jesus. I was made to let the Trinity love on me. We were made for that. Um, but I don't know, just I had to I found people throughout my life and learned a lot of religion. I was so hungry, I just wanted anything to smack to Jesus. I had to unlearn a lot of things, but the one thing that I did realize was, man, he loves us and I love him. Like, I'm like, wow, it's actually okay for this to be a love relationship. This is what the father wanted all along. And there was something in me as a kid that was listening to too many love songs, I guess, but I just was like drawn to that thought without understanding it, and then growing up you realize, as you start reading the word and start like God would just start hammering home, I want friends, I want intimacy, I want people that know me
Yeah.
more than the miracles. I love performing miracles through my people. I I love parted seas and healings and gold dust. I love pouring out my signs and my stones and my feathers and my oil and whatever I can do to lavish on my kids. But man, I want my people to know me. So that was,
Absolutely.
I think, the beginning of where things started changing in me. I don't
That's
know. I feel like I'm going all over the place.
No, you're not. You're not at all. Absolutely. I'd love this. Yeah, that I mean that was a lot of my story too. Like I've always knew there was a love, but I didn't really know what it was because I had such a broken family. And I mean, we kind of understood love because our parents did love us, but we didn't really know intimacy, if you will. You know, the like the real deep love, you know. And so it's like there's a lot of stuff that over the years that I've had to unlearn myself and stuff that I have learned, but and I shared this in last night's podcast, this time when God showed me that, love is a fire,
Hmm.
it's and ever since then I've just been drawn by this fiery passionate love that just it's like he just woos us and he just cares about us so deeply, and every time you think you like, how deep does this love go, you realize like there is no end to his love. There
Right?
is no, there's no bottom. There's no point when daddy doesn't look when daddy looks at you and says, all right, that's enough now, like he doesn't do that. Like, that's not his character. And
You
it's just
know, I
God.
love that you're saying this because it's like I grew up where it was like everything had to be tough. You don't want to be too mushy. You don't want to be too extravagant. You, you know, everything has to be so mature and so in the middle of the road. And I was always like, I always wondered, why am I drawn to this extravagance?
Yeah.
And like, when you think about who he is and the way he loves us, there's no length he won't go to. There's no length he will not go to love us. And he is just so invested in us. I don't know when did it happen. I think part of it was being involved with the downtown house of prayer and stuff, and you're so deeply immersed in these scriptures, things start unfolding um, to you if you let it. I just started seeing like glimpses of the cross and the extent of where it was more than just, hey, he took on your punishment. It was there's such a deeper depth, many deeper depths
Yeah. Oh,
to what the
absolutely.
cross is. And it just, to me, it changed. Like, I don't even know when it happened, when the revelation became such a, oh my gosh, wow, we there's he has invested so much in us. This is not, people misunderstand. Those of us that are always talking about love, love, love all the time, and that are just these squeezy, huggy, gracie, greasy, gracie types. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just a bunch of fluffy fluff,
Yeah.
you know and it's so fluffy, it's so soft, it's softer than cat's fur, it's softer than a feather bed, but it's stronger than diamonds and steel. It's hotter than the greatest fire you've ever experienced.
Yeah.
It had to be like, you cannot look at the cross and see, oh, fluff. This is a deep, deep love that was is it's like, I'm gonna do whatever I have to get my people that I want and I love.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's so funny that you say that too, because when I was 14 years old, I was young and dumb, doing stupid stuff, and my brother and I were shooting aerosol spray paint cans,
Mm.
and he would run up to it and hit it with light a lighter next to it, and it would shoot these 4-foot flames. I'm like, this is so cool. And my brother had to run back to the house because I think my dad called him over. My stepmom called him back to the house, and so I found a bigger can, and I thought, bigger can, bigger flame. This is going to be awesome. So I shot it with the BB gun and walked up to it, and I lit it on fire, and it blew. The can went about 50, like half a football field into the air. And like I caught the entire field and myself on fire. Uh,
Oh,
Ended up with first, second, and third degree burns on my face and my hands. And so I remember very much, because not only did I have, like actual burns, but I also had chemical burns, which were just as bad. And I just remember like the pain and anguish that I went through. And God showed me that, like, that feeling, that intensity and the fact of just feeling like I'm out of my mind, like that is the intensity that his love burns for us. Like, and when we come to that place where we realize his fire is so just consuming and so good and so lovely, all you can do is roll around on the
Ooh.
floor. Like,
Ooh.
only this fire you don't want anybody to put out, you know?
Mm.
But it's like, it took me like 6 months. I was out of school and I had to do nothing but rest, and then morning, noon, and night they would just clean all this stuff off my face and my hands, because if they let it scab over, I would have been permanently scarred, and my face would have been disfigured for the rest of my life. So it's like, even in that, God showed me that his love strips away all these things that we were never created to be. It strips
Amen.
away all these scars and all these things that we were never supposed to see and believe, and the things that we judge ourselves, and that
Mm.
was never for us.
Mm.
And so you know kind of a a rough revelation, if you will.
Right.
But
Owie.
I learned so much out of that, and it's like all the people that just surrounded me through that whole thing. I did experience a love that I didn't realize as a child, that I've realized as I've gotten older. Like family members that would come over and help hold me down while they actually washed off my face because it hurt so bad.
Mm.
you know
Wow.
um but this passionate love, like the thing is when you actually come to this place of realizing intimacy, like honestly, it changes your everything. It changes your
Yeah.
whole life. It changes the way you look at things. It changes the way, like, you're processing things, the way you're perceiving other people. Like, it just changes everything. And that's one of the things that I love, especially with this practical Christology page, is just being able to share with people. Like, personally, I came from some of the darkest places, and it really was like the love of God that transformed my life and changed everything for me. And so this message of love, and the love that you carry yourself, like, that is the very thing that I can never walk away from.
Amen.
That is the thing that holds me captive to this relationship. It's this intimacy that he has for us. And no matter how far you think you stray, it's like, no, he's holding your hand.
Yeah.
Like even in the times where we're just anxious, or focused on stupid things we shouldn't be, like, he's there with you. He's
Oh
walking
gosh. Yeah.
through it with you. There's never a moment where he's not with you. you know
It's
so
true. It's
yeah.
true.
It's so good.
It really is. And it's so funny because I mean I remember, sorry, I didn't mean for my watch to go off just because I repositioned myself there. Uh, but anyhow, I just remember being in a place where a couple of years ago we were in this very 2020. Who wasn't affected by 2020?
Yeah.
Very stressful, not just because of the lockdown. We had gotten to a place where we had to move twice in 1 year. Just crazy things happened, and you know, I think all of us have been taught, oh, faith. You need to have faith in order to please God, and faith at some of those moments was something I did not feel like I had. I always like to think that I'm so solid in what I believe, and yet, it's so funny how when you go through things, um, I don't know that I don't know if your beliefs necessarily change, but it's harder to see those things at the moment, and so you kind of start freaking out, and
Yeah.
and I remember looking back on some of those times and going, God, I didn't Now, hello. There's never been a time you weren't with me, and yet my faith sucked. Really, my
Yeah,
faith was not good. And he is like, yep, that's why part of the reason why I'm here, because my faith will pull you through. When you don't think yours can, mine will. You know,
absolutely.
and I love the fact, though, I'm so grateful for the fact that we I think most of us who've spent any time believing anything in regards to Christianity have lived our lives thinking that it had to be my faith, my joy, my love, my doing, my working up the belief and the faith to move mountains. And I'm just coming to realize anything that we can call quote unquote mine, it came and comes from him
Yes.
every single day,
Mm,
every single minute. It comes from
yeah,
anything that any joy I have, any love I have, it he was the one that created it in the first place. And he's the ultimate source of all those things, the unlimited source of all those things. And it's him who gives all those things to us and is all those things in us and through us and as us. I'm so grateful for that.
absolutely. That's been something that God's been showing me too. It's like, I love Lynn, and I've shared this before. Lynn said to me a while ago, he said, everybody wants what he has, but nobody's willing to do nothing to get it. And, that one really kind of rocked me because it was like, wait a minute. Yeah, you know what? That's true. Like we're resting in him. We're resting in what he's done. We're resting in his love, not my own. We're resting in his faith. That's what it says in Romans. It says there is only one faith, and it's not mine. And so all these things that we've tried to take on ourselves and tried to, like do ourselves, like it gets us nowhere.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, when I was, you know out there on, you spun out on drugs and all this stuff, just trying everything I could to get sober, and just, I couldn't get there. I couldn't do anything. They kept saying, just go to church, like that'll fix you, that'll put a band-aid on it, and that'll help you. And I just never, like, even in that place, I could never, like, there was something there, but I couldn't put my hand on it because it was just like I was still trying to do it myself. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until I stopped and said, God, you have to do this, before, bang, he's like, all right, I can work with that. And he just changed everything for me. He changed,
Yeah.
like, literally changed my mind. He changed my heart, from a heart of stone to a heart of flesh. I mean, and now my wife calls me the ushy gushy one, which I, that's fine. I'll be ushy gushy.
Goosey,
I love it.
goosey, goosey, goo.
Yeah. Like, but that is the heart of the Father. That is so him. He just
It
loves us
is.
so much, and he's like, let me do it, let me do it, let me help you. Like, don't
Yeah.
don't don't keep pushing. And like, he is the second Adam, and this is something I feel like is really been kind of glossed over. He is the second Adam. The curse of having to toil, those days are over.
Shit.
Our
Yeah,
days
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
resting are here. The days of resting in him,
Yeah.
resting in his finished work, resting in what he does. It's all about that cocoa drink, right? It's,
Right?
co-seated, like we're seated with him in heavenly places, and that's
uh,
where we flow from.
yeah. But
So,
so many of us, that flies in the face of everything that most of us have been taught. I think
Absolutely.
we've
Yeah.
all been taught, you gotta, I grew up where the attitude was, by God, I do, I earn everything I get by the work of my own hands.
Yep,
You
yep,
earn, you work your booty off and you earn what you get.
yep, yep, and
And
that's
if
all
you
there is.
don't, you don't get nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
And
God only helps those who help
just help
themselves.
themselves. Yep. And, there is really only a temporary, it's like so many of the things, like you were saying, like, we, most of the time what we're doing is we're fixing the outside, fixing the outside, fixing the outside, fixing the outside. And this inner work, this inner stuff is being left unchecked. And
Yeah,
that's what's causing the problem. It
yeah,
isn't just all these external things we focus on so much. Really, it's
yeah,
a manifestation of things that are roots that are on the inside of us. And
yes,
those are things that we can't fix, but Papa can and does and will,
absolutely,
and did, really. It's like he bore all that, every single bit of that. He bore all
absolutely.
our addictions, he bore all our junk
Yeah.
from the inside out. He bore it all on the cross.
Oh, thank you so much, Rainey. That was so good. So we're coming to the end here, and I just thank you so much for just joining me on this. I'm so happy to have you on here, and I'm hoping that we can do this again sometime because this was so good. And I just love being able to share the love of God with people, and especially with people who absolutely are intoxicated in his love. And so I just thank you so much for just hopping on here with me today and just spending this time with me. Thank you so much.
You're awesome. And I I feel like I feel like all of us are just barely getting to know you and all that Papa has put inside of you. And it's only just beginning.
Well, thank you.